Can you help all of us understand what is transparency? Where are we as an industry in transparency? And where are we going with it? Where do we need to go?
Well, one of the issues the industry has is definitional. So what is the definition of transparency? To some, it means they want to know every nickel and dime that goes into a media campaign so that they can understand exactly where the money is being spent and how it's being used. Okay. So that's one part of the transparency argument. Same time, then you have other definitions, which is transparency in terms of results. What do you get? And how are the results reported? How are they delivered? What is the granular transparency on that particular result? And that's what we do at Xaxis. And I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about transparency. I think there are companies out there that are making a big deal about it because it's in their best interest to do so. But I compare it to going to your stockbroker and saying, I have $100,000 I'd like to invest. And this investor is, or this company that's doing the investment is Merrill Lynch. So I say I want, an aggressive, somewhat aggressive use of my money, like a nice return. So they go, okay, we want to put 40% into the Gabelli fund, and we're going to put 20% into Fidelity to give it a little more stability. And by the way, Merrill Lynch has a terrific fund that's been performing very well. We're going to put 40% into that.
It's an allocation, it sounds like to me.
Allocation. So at the end of the year, you take a look at it, and Fidelity did, pretty much as it's going to do. Gabelli is down, but the Merrill Lynch fund just knocked the cover off the ball. And you take a look at that result and you say, did you make more money on that Merrill Lynch fund because you guys owned it? Take me off of that. I don't want to be in that anymore. Put the rest in the Gabelli fund. Now, would anybody realistically do that? And unfortunately, that's how some advertisers are behaving.
So the advertising community is looking at transparency in a way that arguably each of us as individual consumers would never hold our own stockbrokers accountable to. So that's the rub.
Or, you have a very nice suit on. When you bought that suit, did you go in and ask them what they paid for the materials?
No.
And what it costs to put it together?
I did not.
And how much they're going to mark it up
I
before
did
you
not.
buy it? And
I didn't ask.
You guys are making too much money.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
It wasn't important to me.
Right.
I wanted a suit that needed to fit right and I could wear in the appropriate places.
Right. But, it becomes a religious issue with some people. I think it's a matter of time before they understand the model and start using models like ours on a regular basis, day in and day out.
So could you comment, in addition to transparency, how is viewability and fraud viewed inside of this transparency world or not? Is it a problem? Is it a real issue? Is it something we have to tackle? Is it part of transparency? Could you give us some thoughts on that?
Well, certainly very difficult. In fact, I'd like to meet the guy or gal that can argue that an ad that is not viewable should be paid for, right? Because they're a much better salesperson than you or I. So viewability is table stakes, right? If I can't see the ad, if nobody can see it, shouldn't have to pay for it. And that's, I think, pretty cut and dry. Fraud, robotic activity is a different kettle of fish. And it's kind of hard to believe in the 21st century now, as opposed to women 18 to 49, we're talking about human versus inhuman activity.
Right.
I'm only going to sell you humans, all humans. And that's a little more difficult to deal with. It's always been around. Right. Fraud has always been part of the equation. I think that RTB and programmatic has somewhat exacerbated the situation. And it's something that we just have to work hard to reduce. And hopefully we can root out the bad guys and get it down to a very, very small percentage of all the activity that's happening on the web.
I'm going to use that quote. I don't know anybody who can argue that they should be paying for an ad that's never seen.
Never seen.
Like that. Good salesperson if they can. I'll use that. Thanks, Dave. So if it's okay, I'd like to switch topics to data. Data is a pretty big buzzword, big data, of course, in all industries. Here in this internet digital advertising industry, data has become very important. How do you look at data overall? It's such a big word. What is the scope of the usage of data in ad decisioning? Where are we as an industry in leveraging data? Are we doing a good job, a bad job? Are we in the first inning of a 9-inning ball game? Are DMPs doing well? Anything that you can help us understand about the application of data would be great.
I think we're actually in the first inning of an extra inning baseball game, because as far as I can tell, we're only utilizing maybe 1 to 2% of all the data that is available from a campaign to optimize and then re-express dollars in a manner that gets a better result.
Wow. 1 to 2%, that's it.
There's so much data. And at Xaxis, what we've done is we've come out with a new technology product called Turbine. And Turbine is designed to sift through the volumes of data that are expelled from a campaign, pick the pearls, if you will, store those, let the rest go, and then build on that with subsequent campaigns and more filtering of data. It's a first in the industry. I don't know anybody else that's doing it at this time, and it's another example of the innovation that Xaxis brings to the table day in and day out.
So from a concept point of view, would you call Turbine a DMP, the way that that 3-letter acronym is being used in the industry, or is it something different than what someone would call a normal DMP, if that makes sense? And that's a hard definitional question.
Well, we're back to definitions again, but actually, right after we were acquired, 24/7 was acquired by WPP in 2007, Group M and 24/7 cooperated to build the first DMP actually in the industry. And that DMP now is just being phased out of Xaxis as we replace it with this new turbocharged product called Turbine. Okay. And I would say you could call it a data management platform, but it's also a mechanism for filtering data, storing it, and then being able to use it in a more powerful way.
So the ability to actually apply it is a huge part of this thing. How do I not just collect it, but analyze it and apply the kernels of knowledge to the particular opportunity for my clients?
Absolutely.
And that's why it's not, quote unquote, just a DMP of storage.
Right. Well, look, everybody has data. It's not like it's a unique commodity here. Everybody's got it. The key is how do you use it in a manner that separates you from the rest. And if you look at the financial industry as a model, and that's something I know you know a little something about, you have all these quant experts, right, that have developed all these very sophisticated financial products from data, and they make money with them. We're going to be doing exactly the same thing at Xaxis. The better we get at manipulating it, the smarter the people we get in to analyze it and create those products, the better the performance is going to be.
So Xaxis is using data and applying it very similar to how the large financial institutions have done this in their industry over the past several decades, and that's the fair analogy.
I would like to think so, although I think we have a little bit of catching up to do to get at parity with the financial industry.
Right, but that's a great
and hopefully won't have any products such as the real estate derivatives that brought the economy down.
Fair enough. Last question, if it's okay. Could you give us an update? You mentioned that Xaxis and 24/7 Media have officially merged recently. Could you just share with us the Xaxis mission and how the 24/7 Xaxis merger has affected what Xaxis was doing or 24/7 Media was doing, and anything to that effect?
Well, as you know, in 2011, June, 24/7 spun off Xaxis in partnership with Group M. And we operated as two separate companies at that time, even though we owned a percentage of it along with Group M under the WPP umbrella. Right. And over the 2 or 3 years, we provided a technology platform, we sold media, but we really weren't strategically or financially aligned. So when we thought about ways that we could create a more powerful digital solution for the WPP client base, we thought, wouldn't it be a great thing to put 24/7 and Xaxis back together again? And that's what we did at the beginning of the year, and it's created a powerhouse which has us, we have 21% more opt-in clients than we did last year. Our revenues are going to go up 20%. We've got a great chance of increasing our profits by nearly twice that. So the combination has been spectacular, and I think the best is yet to come.